Bitcoin is going to be under attack every single day for the rest of its life and our lives because it is critical infrastructure. Immediately, there's just red flags going up all over the place. Always follow the money and just see where it leads you before you get called like a crazy conspiracy theorist or anything like this. Well done. You front run Wall Street. You actually turn the tables. But now they're here, with their ETFs and whatever else, their financial derivatives and engineering. We are in the situation that we are right now with price manipulation. What's the product? What's the service? No, there is none. We're just going to reverse list on a stock exchange anywhere in the world by hook or by crook and stack Bitcoin. If you own these markets, which they basically do, you're very much in bed with the media organizations, which they are. People that have been buying the ETFs that haven't done the work, they're just going to get shaken out. It's financial engineering on crack. Family pension money to get in on some of these things, and then it's down 50%. And it's sad to have those conversations.
Digital IDs coming to Australia, and then once digital IDs come out, that leads to central bank digital currencies, in my opinion. Then they bring out social credit scores. And once they've got those three chains or links in a row, I think it gets... Welcome back to G'day Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Sean. Joining us today is a guest that I've long anticipated to have on the show, Daniel Prince, the host of the Once Bitten Podcast. Daniel, how are you?
G'day, Sean. Is that how we say it?
Spot on, mate. Spot on.
I sat next to an Aussie guy for a long time. Worked with a lot of Aussies in financial markets in Singapore. So loads of fond memories, great banter. And I just love what you guys are doing down there. I haven't had the chance to get down, but Canute has been down for Bitcoin Alive a couple of times. And, known Daz for a long time now. He's been on my show like 3 or 4 times. I've actually got one to release with Daz where he's updated us on his year out with the kids traveling around Australia, doing the homeschool thing or the world school or the unschool. And he's going to get the plebs up to date on all of that fun stuff. So I'm looking forward to releasing that one. And and thanks for you and everything that you guys are doing down under to educate as many people as you can about Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's funny. Australians are starting to wake up. I'm sure the world knows. Like Australians are fixed on housing as a store of value asset. So our house prices, we bought this house for $400,000. It's worth about $1.2 million now in a short couple of years. That's just that's stupid. At the moment, I'm going through renovations. Sandblaster, it couldn't work, so I had to help them sand on Saturday. The painter pulled out, so I'm painting the house, and it's a wooden house, so there's wood rot and things like that all needed to be replaced. And you're the house is not in a better condition. It's a lot of work, a lot of effort, but the fiat dollars keep going up. I want to get into the homeschooling and stuff and sort of what's happening in the world with digital IDs, CBDCs and stuff. But just a quick shout out to Daz B. He is one amazing bloke. And I look forward to watching that episode. I actually need to catch up with him. Haven't spoken to him for a while either, but his Beers for Bitcoin have handed out a lot of copies of that book. I think it's, I read in about 4 to 6 hours, and I think it's the quickest book someone can read to give them a pretty good understanding. I don't think it's the be all and end all. I think if someone read the big print front to back cover, they can make an informed decision. But the Beers for Bitcoin, you give it to them, super quick read, and then they're starting to go down the rabbit hole. What I wanted to kick this off with, and it's been a conversation that's really over the last 2 years in the Bitcoin space, over the last 6 months, predominantly on Bitcoin Twitter, Bitcoin X, Knott's first core. What are your thoughts on all of it? Are you for Knott's? Are you for core version 30? Are you for core version 29? Or how are you seeing all of this, and what's your sort of thoughts around it?
Yeah, I did a podcast, if anybody wants to go back, I think it's called WTF Happened in February 2023. And I think I released that in January 24. And it was with Giacomo Zucco and Bitcoin Mechanic before this really started heating up. But I wanted to do that because it takes you all the way back to when this really started happening, so-called spam on the blockchain. Ordinals and inscriptions and all of this kind of nonsense.
Fucking wizards.
Yeah, exactly. Who were funded very heavily by a company called Starkware, and if you follow the money on that one, that gets pretty bleak because they're billed as a layer two technology company, Israeli unicorn tech company worth $8 billion. So all like immediately, there's just red flags going up all over the place. And these were one of the funders of the Taproot Wizards. And when you follow the money of who funded Starkware, who also, by the way, runs Starknet, which is another blockchain which has its own token, shitcoin, of which Eric Wall sits on the board of Starknet and obviously is one of the co-founders of Taproot Wizards. So, like, always follow the money and just see where it leads you before you get called like a crazy conspiracy theorist or anything like this. Simon Dixon's one of the best for this. In fact, probably the best for following the money. If nobody's heard of him, go and listen to
your show with Simon. Whoa, that's eye-opening, man. Oh my gosh.
Yes. And again, so Simon's show is called Bitcoin Hard Talk. He's been around Bitcoin since, I think, 2000. What did he say? Might even be 11 or 12.
I think it was 11.
Yeah, a long time. And he's got some things to say, and he worked in financial markets, mergers and acquisitions, knows how the financial markets function, knows how M&A functions, knows how to follow the money and geopolitics and macro. So he's definitely worth a listen. So when I just followed the money of Starkware, who was on the seed, who was on the cap table in the seed round, turns out it was Arthur Brightman, who was the co-founder alongside his wife of Tezos, which is, I still think, holds the biggest ICO of 2017.
That's an old school shitcoin.
Absolute old school shitcoin. First on the cap table of Starkware, alongside a guy called Hongfei Da, who's out of China, who runs Neo or Neom. You lose track of what these shitcoins are called, but basically, its own blockchain with its own token. He's apparently a self-confessed crypto investor. And when you look at his portfolio of investments, it's one, and that is Starkware. And he was one of the, him and Brightman were the seed founders. And he holds the position of advisor to the Chinese government on blockchain technology. So, like, my red flags just went way up all the way back then. And then just watching this whole thing play out, it's got really nasty now. We've moved on from, the ethos was always attack the idea and not the person. That should be what happens when an upgrade is suggested, a pull request is made. Anyone can make these pull requests. If you see something wrong with the Bitcoin code, you can flag that in GitHub anonymously. If you want, you can just spin up an account and just make an observation, and it will get discussed. And the idea being, the idea should be discussed, and the person should not be attacked, even if you're making an improvement proposal. But now we've got to this point, like that idea was thrown out of the window a long time ago. And now we are in the midst of character assassinations that are going on over this. And it's really sad to see. I fall on the side of Bitcoin is money, and we should look after that, and we should be vigilant, and we should always have our eyes open to attack vectors on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is, as Luke DeWolf would say, is critical infrastructure. And the first thing that anybody it's like electrical grids, oil and gas pipelines, transport, communications networks. They're classed as critical infrastructure. Banking services, payments networks, critical infrastructure. And you've got to have layers of safety filters, if you want to use that word, in place to stop people attacking that. And if it does get attacked, there's got to be fail-safes built on fail-safes built on fail-safes. And that's what Bitcoin should have. And we should always be aware of the fact that Bitcoin is going to be under attack every single day for the rest of its life and our lives, because it is critical infrastructure. And the way we see it and understand it is going to release us all from the modern chains, hat tip Neil Flesher in his book, that we find ourselves under this fiat monetary policies that get, if you were born after 1971, you've not been free, right? We've lived as fiat debt slaves. And this is what Bitcoin is proposing, an answer to, an antidote to that system. And we can't take it lightly if people want to start shoving arbitrary data in the blockchain. It needs to be discussed, it needs to be looked at, and fail-safe systems need to be put in. And if that means capping or keeping the cap of op return at 83 kilobytes instead of blowing it out to 1 megabyte, that just seems a little, what's the word I want to look at? Irresponsible, I would say, be the best way I could put it. I don't think I've been too unfair or vitriolic there with that response.
Yeah. Considering the attacks, and especially the attacks on Mechanic, and what it sort of reminds me of at the moment is Charlie Kirk. Agree with him or disagree with him as a person, posing questions, seeking answers, or just open up to discourse, to conversation. And his character was literally assassinated, but it seems like not to that extent, obviously, but to shut down anyone that disagrees. One thing that I found very odd with it all is the community, at least on X and stuff, was asking a lot of questions, and they just wanted to know what was going on and to understand why push for this, why increase it by such a large amount and stuff. And there's no FAQ cheat sheet page or anything. It's not like they're like, no, we think this is right. We're just going to do it and we're going to push it through. And so when that happened, I'm like, I was obviously talking to Tony from the Bitcoin Way. I'm like, what are you guys thinking? And they're like, well, Bitcoin's money. That's obviously what I got into Bitcoin for. And it's one of the things you're saying, Bitcoin is money. So what do I do? So I spun up a knots node on a server 1, which has been incredible. Are you running knots or just on the current version on knots? As well.
Shout out to one of your Aussie brothers, Parman. He builds the Parman Nodal, and I love supporting him. He's done incredible work over the years. He's got some great takes, not just on Bitcoin, but in life in general. So got one of those shipped over. I was already running my node, but I'd switched it over to, back in the day, it was called Audi Disrespector, I think, back in whenever that was released, 18 months ago, maybe longer. Switched to that as soon as I could. And yeah, I think, like you, the real shame about this whole thing is when you do ask those questions and you're met with the shaming of you're just not too technical minded enough to understand what's going on here. Now we're using this terminology pleb slop, right? To kind of assassinate the character of anybody that's willing to stick their head above the parapet and say, hey guys, hang on, why are we doing that? You don't understand, bro. It's too technical. Just leave it to us. And that is trust us, right? Yeah. We're not here for that. We want verification. Yeah. And what are we here to do other than educate? We should have education around this. Where is the onus on the people that want to push this through to fully educate everybody about it? You said, where's that FAQ list? Where's that cheat sheet of how to understand it? These are the steps. This is what's going on. And we would be in a much better position then to have a discussion rather than what's turned into be beyond the debate now. It is the op-size wars. It's, there's a BIP out there now too. And that BIP, which is being called BIP 444, has come out seemingly of nowhere. It's a anonymous BIP has been put out there. You've got the core saying, oh, that's just Luke hiding behind a mask. And you've got Luke having actual conversations with this guy. So yeah. He's either, very masterful.
I think if it was Luke, though, he'd just put his name on it. He's not shy of coming forward. If you've still got your Bitcoin on an exchange or you're looking to take your Bitcoin security to the next level, I've partnered with the Bitcoin Way. They offer live help for setting up cold storage, running your own node, keeping your Bitcoin private, planning for the future, using multi-sig, and so much more. They never touch your keys. They will not touch your coins. Instead, they'll show you how to buy and keep them safe. If you want to make your Bitcoin setup safer, you can book a free 30-minute call and have a chat with them. Safe Dina Moose, the author of the Bitcoin Standard, Natalie Brunel, Preston Pish, and so many more recommend the professional IT cybersecurity team. Couple of outstanding things here. You can see they've been featured in Forbes, Bitcoin Magazine, Bitcoin Prague, Zero Hedge, Simply Bitcoin, the Bitcoin Safety, the Bitcoin Standard podcast with Safety and Moose, Bitcoin News, obviously G'day Bitcoin for a long time. They're the world experts in helping people become self-sovereign. It's not just about protecting your Bitcoin stash. Yes, they will help you do that in a very easy to understand step-by-step process. But from there, they can help you secure your data. They are your personal cybersecurity IT experts. And then step number 3 is getting a second passport, a Plan B residency. The team, very cheap, very affordable for people that are looking to take their sovereignty to the next level. You can find out more about their services. When you first log in to their website as well, they have got a free 3-minute quiz to allow you to check if you are doing your cybersecurity, your setup correctly. I urge everyone to jump onto the bitcoinway.com. I have put a link into the description for everyone. Could not recommend them enough. I've used them personally before I ever partnered with them for the channel, friends and family. They asked me to help them out. I'm like, go to the world experts. That is the Bitcoin way. So reach out to the Bitcoin way today.
Right. The interesting thing is it could be anyone. It could be someone from the core side that's had a change of heart and is now like, actually, you know what? It could be a group of people. And there's, it could be someone from the not side. Who knows? It could have been a complete lurker on Twitter for the last 2 years, getting themselves up to speed in a basement, like ripping through code, understanding exactly what's going on, and then just dropping this at this very moment. It's a fascinating time. It needs discussing now. It can't be ignored, so it needs discussing, and there's no character there to assassinate. So I hope it comes all the way back around to discussing the idea.
Fingers crossed. That's but we'll see. Obviously, it's not going to the conversation or the lack of conversation is not going to go away anytime quick. But going from nodes, pivoting into Bitcoin as money. That's why I got into the space, Daniel. Like Nico Moran says, freedom, not slavery. And truly, what Bitcoin's allowed in my own life, I'm lost for words. It's just truly revolutionary from what it is. But say since last year, once BlackRock and all these ETFs and stuff started to get approved, before that, when I was on X or the podcasts and just the general discussion around Bitcoin was freedom, money. That's really what it was focused on, is just providing freedom within one's life and the proof of work and don't trust, verify and stuff. And ever since these ETFs, I don't know, the conversation has just changed so dramatically, where it's now strictly only number go up, and it's watching what the ETFs and everything are doing, or are they buying, and then we're seeing like the Bitcoin treasury companies, and I don't want to get into the Bitcoin treasury companies just yet, but I do want to pivot into that after. What's your thoughts since sort of Wall Street's come in with that traditional background? Was it 18 years that you're in traditional finance for?
Yeah.
So you speak their language.
Yes. Yeah, I've seen inside the belly of the beast there. I worked in foreign exchange markets as a dealer broker for all of that time. Sat right underneath the spigot of the Cantillon effect. The fresh money would be printed. That would get sent into the banking complex. Then that gets washed through the foreign exchange markets or arena, whatever you want to call it. And I didn't have any idea that any of that was going on, really. You turn up as a 19-year-old kid in a broker house in London on the spot dollar mark A desk, and your whole job is to run around, get people sandwiches, park their cars, run their dry cleaning up and down, get their lunches, get their breakfast, get their coffees. You were a dog's body for a couple of years, and you get onto the desk. So you have no idea, like, it's just numbers. They're just shouting numbers out. And you just know that they drive nice cars and they're dressed well and the banter's good and you get looked after if you do the right things and if you show some, a little bit of nous. And then, fast forward 18 years, you've painted yourself into this corner whereby you're sitting there at your desk and you're thinking, what the fuck are we actually doing? This is mad. The billions and billions of dollars that just gets passed through these phone lines and then onto a computer. And then you trick yourself into believing that all of the money that's coming through is just massive corporates, conglomerates hedging foreign exchange risk because they're interacting in global trade, which a certain amount of that is true. You'd have airlines, you'd have huge, motor companies, huge fast moving consumer goods companies that were operating on a global scale and did have foreign exchange risk that did need hedging. So that would have been a tiny part of the business. The rest of it was just like huge amounts of speculation coming through, like hedge funds that had slightly better information than they thought than their competitors. Or you just got central banks printing freaking shitloads of money into the system, which needs to get disseminated out, and all kinds of shenanigans and chicanery. And you didn't really have a clue what you were a part of until I stepped away from it, thankfully. And then we took our kids out of school and started traveling. And it was at that point, because I'd stepped away from it, that I could start actually looking at Bitcoin with a clear mindset rather than a hubristic mindset. Because I'd seen all the headlines come across the desk, Bitcoin's internet geek money. I remember the Mt. Gox situation when that went down. I actually thought, well, that's the end of Bitcoin. I just realized, I realize now that I'd not done any kind of study into it, and Mt. Gox was just an exchange. But back then I thought that was, this must be the company that created it. Now they've gone bankrupt. Everyone's lost their money. What on earth did they think would happen? Of course that was going to go down. So I really had just poo-pooed it. So once I had control of my time, I could actually delve into it and started really going down the rabbit hole and understanding it more. And the thing that clicked for me was the fact that, this is an investable asset that has not been designed by the financial wizards on Wall Street. Like, this is holy fuck moment. I can invest in something that these guys don't even know exists or have been telling us is just an absolute piece of crap. But it has value and it has a price and it's on an exchange. It's an open market and I can get in before they do. Like, this was my number go up moment. Like, let's go. Like, bring it on. So that just started the dollar cost average journey. And I always knew that there would be the day that they would come. I'm shocked it took them as long as it did. Anybody that was buying Bitcoin before then, like, well done. You front run Wall Street. You actually turn the tables on this financial industrial complex. But now they're here with their ETFs and whatever else, their financial derivatives and engineering. We are in the situation that we are right now with price manipulation. You have paper Bitcoin. This summer was like crazy for that. After the ETFs, what do we have? I think 11 in the US. And the US are leading the charge, and that's where Wall Street is, right? Here in the UK, I think there's one product, exchange traded product, ETP it's called over here. Europe, there might be 2 or 3 that you can invest in, but there's the US, like 11 of them, and the biggest of the big. And how are they doing it? Well, they'll be calling around their clients, their high net worth clients, and explaining to them that they need to, get this in their portfolio, and they have no idea what they're holding. They've not done any of the work. They're not holding their keys. They're just trying to get exposure to this new asset. And they just hold a share of BlackRock, and they get to decide what they do with those with those shares. And again, I would honestly go and listen to Simon Dixon talk about like what's going on with the ETFs and the Bitcoin treasury companies, because he's been right over the target from the very get-go. If anyone's listening, look, I understand some people have what's been termed trapped capital. I think, first of all, Who made that term? Like the people that want you to buy the shares call it trapped capital, and it's your private pension funds that they're coming after, that they're targeting, because they know there's a lot of money tied up there, and there's a lot of angst in people because they're trying to stretch this money that they can't touch for 10 to 15 years. They know it's going to get inflated away, and they're being coerced into invest in paper products that can be easily manipulated, very easily manipulated. And I think that's what
In
we're
what
seeing right
way?
now.
Like how can they manipulate? We interrupt this video to bring you a really quick PSA. How safe and secure is your Bitcoin seed phrase? So many people still hold their 12 or 24 words on paper. Then they sort of upgrade to something like this. This is a titanium version. It does hold all 24 words, but look how big it is. This device, this revolutionizes it. It changes it. It makes it so much more secure. What this does, you can see there's a 1-inch washer on there. It comes with these punches that are almost microscopic. They give you a magnifying glass to be able to see the end of them, because you really can't read what that says. And then they give you titanium washers, nylon washers. Think about this for x-rays, body scanners, metal detectors, border passes, just around the house with the metal detector wand, stainless steel as well. These are great for hot wallets. The titanium, it's going to survive a house fire. But this, compared to this, look at the size difference to it. You could fit 8 of these on this one plate, yet it still contains all 24 words. Imagine how easy that is to be able to hide. Now, the team have given a discount code for everyone. There is a link below. Now, back to the show.
Well, first thing they can do is the easiest thing, headlines, just negative sentiment. You can just throw negative sentiment out into, if you own these markets, which they basically do, and you're very much in bed with the media organizations, which they are, and you can get people on CNN or Squawk or you can just write in the Washington Post or New York Times or whatever, and just keep these negative sentiments coming. Like what I woke up this morning, I think Bitcoin dipped under $90,000. So what are we going to see now? It's going to be all of these negative headlines. And the people that have been buying the ETFs that haven't done the work, they're just going to get shaken out, right? They're like, what the fuck? Like, get me out of this. Why didn't I just stay in my FANG stocks or my bonds? And here's another narrative we've been spun. We've got like this, I know the number changes every time. $300 trillion, caught up in bonds and fixed income that is just dying to find some yield. You're like, okay, well, they're not that. Those people that hold that stuff don't suddenly wake up one day and pivot to penny stocks or digital asset ETFs, whatever language is being used. So we've had all the headlines on the positive side. All this money's coming in, bro. You don't understand. It's trapped over there. These boomers are sick and tired of getting their faces ripped off. They just want to earn some yield. Of course, it's going to come into Bitcoin. Like, nice narrative. Then now we're going to get all this negative stuff. You watch, and all of those people that did make that trade are going to want out. They don't have any conviction. It was just numbers to them. And meanwhile, there'll be shenanigans going on in the background as well in the markets. You could have big open derivative positions, futures positions, options positions, and these can be easily coerced, especially in a market that's if you compare like the Bitcoin to the corn futures market, like it's tiny compared. We've got one market that's been around for decades and decades and decades. And you got this other market over here that's also almost nobody's playing in, only the big boys on Wall Street, and they're all competing against each other, playing fiat games with each other. And there will be all kinds of weird strike positions that if you've got a big open position on an option that's expiring and you need to manipulate the price down towards or up towards that strike price, you can do it in the spot market if you've got that clout behind you. So this is the kind of games that are going to be going on behind the scenes. And this is like, it's our job just to kind of say to the plebs, for want of a better word, just sit on your hands. just stack your Bitcoin, get it off the exchange, and get it into self-custody and sleep well. And do the same next week or next month, whatever it can be. Don't take a mortgage out on your house. I mean, don't go and leverage in any way. If you want to sell shit,
Agreed.
do that. Like sell your mountain bike for $4,000 that you don't ride anymore, or your car, the extra car you don't need, and use that to go and buy a Bitcoin with. But getting levered up, collateralizing your Bitcoin is just a very, very dangerous game to be in, because these markets, they can get manipulated very, very quickly. If you were, what was the high? 126,000 US dollars, and we're now down to 90,000. I mean, if you were levering Bitcoin up at those prices, I don't know what terms you've entered into, but you're probably feeling a little bit edgy as this price just keeps going down and down and down. The dollar cost average is still the best way to go. Just don't get over your skis. If it's $100 a week, do that. If it's $1,000 a month, do that. If you've got something you can liquidate that you're happy that you don't need, go ahead and do that. If you want to sell your house and then go and rent instead, again, go and do that. I think that the best way to think about it is not getting yourself caught up in fiat games, not getting yourself caught up in fiat debt, just to try and buy a Bitcoin and beat Wall Street in any way. Fuck around, find out, right? FAFO. I've changed that to fiat around and find out, because if you start fiating around, you're gonna find out, and it's not
real
quick.
Really good. Yeah. Just to like double up on what you said, I've got this saying that I say every day: buy, stack, and chill. Obviously, buy Bitcoin, stack, put in self custody. Chill is read the books, read the bugs, just go out and live your life. And then when it comes to Bitcoin price, I expect a 37% drawdown on any day for any reason or for no reason whatsoever, because we've just had so many 36% drawdowns. So if it happens, it happens. It dipped last week, had some extra fiat, went in with size, dipped again today, didn't have a whole lot there, but I went in and I get excited about buying when it's red. But red, green, sideways, who cares whether we're buying it at 58K, 100,000, 200,000? Over time, when it's $1 million, do you care? It's like turning $100 or $200 into 1,000. Like, so what? But then to go in with leverage. And I've got a friend that loaned his Bitcoin and got Bitcoin back as a loan. So he needs to pay back in Bitcoin, not in fiat, which is even more risky again, instead of just loaning your Bitcoin, getting fiat back. At least it's cash based and fiat's trash. But so then what do? You got all this Bitcoin. And so then he went into Metaplanet, I'm pretty sure. And I don't know where he went in at Metaplanet, but I'm pretty sure he's down on that loan. And I don't know how long he has left. And maybe this gentleman in that situation maybe is okay. Maybe he got at the very, very bottom or whatever it is, but I don't think so. And this was his whole personal Bitcoin stack, because he's got big dreams of having huge amounts of Bitcoin stuff. My goal is to have 1,000 Bitcoin. Whether that happens or not, I've got a big dream of having a lot of Bitcoin. That's the dream, but I'm not going to go out and leverage and do it. I'm just going to stack skills to be able to earn more income, more dirty fiat to be able to buy it. It scares the shit out of me, leverage. So don't play stupid games, kids. Take away. So let's pivot then into the Bitcoin treasury companies on this, because I think these are crazy, crazy games. Like, we hear all these things, Bitcoin per share and MNAV and everything like that. To me, the only way that you win this game, and you said it, Daniel, is Bitcoin in self-custody. If it's not in self-custody, if it's not your keys, it's not your coins, you don't own shit. Like you've stuffed up somewhere in the equation. But I'd like to get your thoughts around Bitcoin treasury companies. Are they doing anything innovative? And if they are, or there aren't, I'll leave it up to you. Who would you say that these things are for, the Bitcoin treasury companies? Because to me, it just seems like it's the shitcoins of the cycle. Altcoins, cryptocurrency's been dead. There's been nothing there. They've all, in my opinion, and I'd like to maybe something a little bit more grounded or a little bit more nuanced, they've all gone to play in the Bitcoin Treasury shitcoin casino.
Yeah, it's a real strange one. Come for the Austrian economics and stay to day trade MNAV. What is going on? It's insane.
It seems crazy.
Yeah. So again, attack the idea, right? Well, the idea of a company existing purely to stack Bitcoin. So what's the good? What's the product? What's the service? No, there is none. We're just going to reverse list on a stock exchange anywhere in the world by hook or by crook and stack Bitcoin. We'll sell shares and we'll take that money and we'll stack Bitcoin. And then we'll do it again. And then we'll do it again. And we've got the perpetual motion machine, bro. Like the flywheel will never break. I don't understand what you guys are saying. Like, I just don't. I've never understood it. I can't get my head around it. It's pure fiat shenanigans. It's financial engineering on crack, which is the worst kind of engineering. I think I did a tweet. I asked an AI to list all of the engineering jobs, and I think there was like 50. Missing was financial engineer. So, and all of this MNAV and Bitcoin yield per share and all of this jargon that's getting thrown around, this is all part of the trick. It's all part of the smoke and mirrors to make you feel silly because you don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
You don't need to. All you need to understand is...
That's my takeaway. They like start making up nonsense words, MNAV and stuff. I'm like, this way over my head, I'm just going to stack sats and chill.
Yeah. And it's getting to a point now, Sean, where I've had enough personal interactions with 2 or 3 families and just recently another interaction with an individual who we had connected on Twitter over one of my tweets where I was asking questions around a particular company. And it's amazing the communities that have been built up around these things as well. Like communities, wow.
Worse than altcoiners.
Yeah, it's incredible. And if you start asking questions, like you just get absolutely destroyed by some of these shills, or worse, fanboys, or just straight up bots, or straight up paid people who infiltrate these communities. I don't know. Like it's just a really weird situation. And I don't believe in the narrative of we're building the bridge for the fiat system. All of this trapped capital in the bond market to come over. It needs an avenue. It needs a highway to come over. And that's the service that these guys are offering. That was a weak argument for me, or the product that these guys are offering. And so I've had enough individual in-person chats with people that have been truly affected by the hype and then used trapped capital, pension money, family pension money to get in on some of these things. And then it's down 50%. Or more. And it's sad to have those conversations because the only people that they were targeting would have been Bitcoiners because, how many people buy penny stocks in the first place? Like this is a very small part of the retail investment market. Yeah. How many of those actual penny stock speculators, because that's all they are. So it's not investment. It's penny stock. Penny stock speculation is a very niche part of the financial markets, the equity markets. So when you look at that niche group of people, you've got a sub niche that are only going to be interested in Bitcoin treasury company penny stocks, because like the rest of the guys, they're just too busy looking at all the other penny stocks. They don't care. Like it's probably not going to come across their radar until the thing's pumped, right? And then they're going to be late in. But it's the Bitcoiners that have got an eye on it because people go on Spaces or they go on podcasts and it hits the magazines. It's like, we're going to start a Bitcoin treasury company. They'll start the dog and pony show a little bit early and they'll get people revved up and we're going to be the next MicroStrategy and we're just going to follow the playbook and we're going to list and you want to get in early, bro, and all of this. And then boom, you've got people giving up their pensions to go into a penny stock that, and if you look at the charts of any of these penny stocks over like the last 6 to 9 months, they just look like pure pump and dump plays. There's no other way.
Especially NACA.
Oh God.
That's so, my heart bleeds for whoever invested in that. That's one horrible chart.
Yeah. So you've
That,
got that one and another one. I don't know if you followed the one in the UK, Smarter Web. If you look at that, like
not really,
subscription.
but that got a lot of social media attention. I've tried now to like just totally tune him out because I interviewed a founder for he was trying to do the same thing in Australia, and I don't know what happened. I stopped sort of following it. He's a really nice guy, like as a person, but he was trying to do this treasury thing. And it's just like, I have no interest in fiat games. I want out of that system. But no, I don't know what happened to Smarter Web. Has it crashed as well?
Yeah, yeah.
Not
I think
surprised.
I think the very first tranche of people might have been buying those shares at like 2.5 pence, and then it pumped to £5, and I think it's down to like p at the moment. So
Hmm.
even if you were getting in on the way back down at like 2.5 pounds, and it's just sad to have these conversations with people that have been affected by it.
Yeah.
What's worse is the only stories you will hear are the guys that won, right?
Yep.
But my question to them is, who did you sell your shares to? It will only be another Bitcoiner. What are we doing? What are we here to do? Are we here to rise up above each other because I've got my hand on your head like the crabs in the bucket and just fall back into these fiat traps? Or are we here to stay vigilant, stack sats, free ourselves from this nonsense? That's where I fall. So yeah, I'm no fan. Yeah, that's my take.
I couldn't agree more with your take. And talking about freedom, ladies and gentlemen, I want to go down some rabbit holes. So disclosure out of the way, you've been warned. But it feels like freedom has, since really COVID, it's rapidly been taken away, like at a faster clip. I've sort of noticed it. Ever since like sort of my early teens, more and more like Christ will come out, and then obviously like with the Twin Towers, September 11 and stuff, and we got all these like checkpoints in the airport and things like that. The world changed, going to the airport changed, and stuff like that. But now the UK digital IDs coming to Australia December 10th. In a way, they're already here. And then once digital IDs come out, that leads to central bank digital currencies, in my opinion. Those two in and of themselves maybe not so bad, but then they bring out social credit scores. And once they've got those three chains or links in a row, I think it gets dystopian very, very quickly. To me, Bitcoin being freedom money is Bitcoin in self-custody. Say with digital IDs, and you say something that was common sense, in 2020, and now it's deemed hate speech, or you're a far right radical, or whatever. You just say something that disagrees with, or they want to put carbon credits or whatever in, and they just cut off your bank accounts or whatever. You've got an opportunity to be able to live, to be able to survive, to be able to get out of Dodge and stuff. But what are your thoughts like in regards to digital IDs, CBDCs? Is that going to lead to social credit scores? Are we moving towards what China is doing? Is this sort of like 1984, Brave New World, Atlas Shrugged, sort of all combined?
Yeah, it's hell. it's not good at all.
It seems
I
crazy.
I don't know how you fix it. I mean, other than just resist it as hard as you can. With all of these things, they just need. Who are they? All right. Well, let's just say in this case, in digital ID, it's always the deep state. And who are the deep state? It's always, which lobby has the most power at that point. Is it the military industrial complex? Is it the pharmaceutical industrial complex? Is it the consumer industrial complex? Is it the banking industrial complex? Which one has the most incentive for all of this stuff to go through? Who has the power behind the scenes? Who owns the sitting puppet? Who got that person in? Because like your vote doesn't matter, by the way. Like
Yeah.
that's all just a game. And
Clearly, we've got Anthony Albanese as Prime Minister in Australia, true puppet.
Right. So If you have you ever read the book Pawns in the Game by William Guy Carr?
I don't think so. I'll Google it. And
Yeah, that's a good one for people. I'll send out a few titles of books so people can pick them up or go get them on Audible or whatever, and just start going down some of these rabbit holes. And there's a lot of stuff you can't verify, but there's a lot of stuff. There's just a scale, right? Like critical thinking from first principles, whatever. You've got to go in knowing that the likelihood of you reaching absolute truth is very low. But you can get to an approximation of the truth if you're willing to start reading and listening to opposing views to what you've always been taught or what you were indoctrinated into believing through the education system. Like here in the UK, you are brought up to believe Winston Churchill was one of the greatest men that ever walked this planet. Now, if you read opposing views to that, he was a philandering, murdering, warmongering asshole Zionist that was very key in the signing of the Balfour Declaration in 1917, which then led to the creation of Israel and all of the murder and genocide that has come out of that, especially in the last 2 years, but certainly over the last decades. So, what's the truth there? What's the scale of truth? You've been told one thing all your life, and then you turn the other page and you look at something else. So you've then got to kind of land on where you think you can approximate the truth there. So these books are very, very important to read. There's another one called Red Symphony, which is...
You mentioned that ages ago, and I tried to order that, and I could not get it on Amazon.
Here we go. It's very, very short. This is actually just a chapter from a much bigger book, but this was one of the most incredible chapters because it's a transcript of a conversation that took place in 1938 during the Stalin show trials and tortures. And when you start reading this, you think to yourself, bloody hell, like everything we've been told. And then they even get into how money was, who controls the money, and how like all financial crashes have been engineered by the people that, own the financial markets and all of the plumbing that goes with it. So having found Bitcoin, it just helps you question everything, because when you find, how did John Vallis explain it to me once? Bitcoin and its blockchain is the existential heartbeat of truth. TikTok, next block, everything in that block happened. It was a transaction that is verifiable, true. You're like, wow, we've never been here before, and certainly not in our lifetimes. And to build a foundation and a new like civilization on top of that is just mind blowing. And then you can't help but start scratching the surface of everything else that you've been told, and whether that is related to how many people have changed their diets and their health, right? And how many people have reversed what they were told they had since birth, some kind of autoimmune disease or genetic disorder. I mean, we know people that reverse diabetes, just because they were willing, because they found Bitcoin, and now they were willing to go challenge other areas of their life as well. So what did you do diet-wise then?
I went on the carnivore and then increased my sun exposure.
Right. Yeah. Crazy, huh?
Yeah, wild.
But you were told red meat was bad for you and don't go out in the sun, especially in Australia. Don't you know the ozone layers are like that thin? You're going to get burned to a crisp. You're going to get... Come on.
There's been a funny conversation in my house the last 2 days because I eat 6 kilos of meat a week, which is so about a kilo a day for 6 days. And then 1 day a week, I'll just eat whatever I want now. Like if the wife makes a home cooked meal or a pasta or something like that. I'm not totally religious about it. It's nice to have that family time. But for the sun, so I've now spent the last 15 months, 3 hours a day from 8 till 11 on a work day in the sun, no shirt every day. And obviously, like we're going out of spring towards summer and stuff. So it's starting to go back and hotter and hotter and hotter. but I don't burn. Sometimes I'll go maybe a little bit red or whatever. And my wife's like, can you just cut down your sun exposure a little bit? I'm like, no, I'm not going to. And she's like, why? Like, what are you basing this on? I'm like, it's too complicated. She's like, don't you think it'll give you skin cancer? I'm like, no, I don't. And I'm like, just, you're not going to like my answers, and I don't really have an answer to give you. I know that for me, it feels good at this stage. That's what I'm doing. We can talk about, and you're not going to like what I'm saying, or you can just let me be me and do me. She's like, oh, worry about your diet and stuff like that. I'm like, look at this body. Like, do I look unhealthy to you? And she's like, no. I'm like, well, something's working. She's like, maybe that's the gym and the thing, but I'm not sure about the sun. But she wasn't sure about the steak either originally. And then after doing it for 15 months, she's like, yeah, I can see that that's working for you. Like, red meat's not for her. That's fine. But she's like, I can see that's working. I don't want to hold you up too much, but like, I've got this burning question that's been driving me crazy for years and years and years, because I spend 3 hours outside every workday. But I've also looked at the sky for my entire life. I was saying before the show, dad and mum were both pilots. My longest dream was to fly. But when I was a kid at school, I'd always just daydream, looking up at the clouds, thinking about zooming around them and stuff. Now there's like beautiful fluffy clouds and things like that usually. Now, probably over the last, maybe at least the last 5 years, but maybe even the last 10 years, the amount of lines in the sky that I've seen coming from aeroplanes seems super strange. Now, I know what a contrail is, where an aeroplane goes and it creates the vapor trails and then that dissipates and it goes away. But what's happening, Daniel, is these aeroplanes fly over and it leaves like 2 lines in the sky usually. And sometimes there'll be 3 aeroplanes like next to each other doing this. And then over a couple of hours, they'll like spread out and they'll cover the whole sky. So sometimes I've just seen that on a random day, or when it feels like really hot and humid and I'm like, we need rain. It's about the time of year where we're going to get rain. We should have rain tomorrow. The clouds are starting to build up. The aeroplanes seem to be out there super early that next day on a day that's rain. The whole sky is blanketed and it looks like all that moisture is sucked up into that cloud layer and it doesn't fall like normal clouds, or at least not here. And then we have some like big flooding events and stuff. I don't know if that's what's happening. All I know for sure is airplanes are going, they're leaving lines in the sky that spread out to clouds and they're not disappearing. Do you know what's going on? Because anytime I ask questions on X, or I ask people, or I talk to people, they're like, you're absolutely cooked, mate. They're contrails, they're natural, it's the airplanes doing it. I'm like, they're fucking not. Like, I know for certain they are not natural and something's happening, but I don't know what or why.
It's just water vapor and ice crystals, bro.
Yeah, it's not.
Don't question it. Like, don't listen to your gut. Don't.
You sound like you're on MS. Well, ABC.
Man, what a rabbit hole that one was. I was dragged into that one, kicking and screaming. I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole. I didn't want to. It's like, I'd like you kind of started noticing like that stuff, and it just didn't seem. But I just very rarely now do I see the big, beautiful, fluffy clouds that I remember seeing vividly as a kid, like laying in the grass in the backyard, looking up, making shapes with them. And the reason I know that we don't see that anymore is because I've never done that with my own kids, and that's like really upsetting. Like, it's shocking. So, like, what happened? You're not going crazy. So, I started going down these rabbit holes, come across geoengineering, which is taking place, and it is unquestionably taking place now. You could even, if you search right now, BBC plan to dim the sun, just do any random Google search, and it's there. It's all there for you to see. It's even now out in the open. It's being discussed in Parliament, and they're talking about, and they've even got a group, which is a subdivision of the government. It's kind of like a black ops group, if you will. It's called ARIA in the UK, ARIA. I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but it's headed up by Dominic Cummings, the freaking whatever dude, psychopath, whatever you want to call him, sociopath, that got Boris Johnson into power. and then ran the Cambridge Analytica social engineering program to split the country in half over the Brexit vote, which was always going to happen anyway because your vote doesn't matter. If you want to come back to that conversation, go back to William Guy Carr, pawns in the game. All of this stuff is set up well in advance, and you just have to follow the money. He was given £800 million to go and set up this area, and it's now come out that £60 million of that has so far been used for geoengineering projects over the UK in order to dim the sun in the UK, right? Dim the sun. What?
You just don't even get any sun.
Guys, we got no worries here. Like, you know, we do not need to be dimming the sun. And the methods they're using is called solar radiation modification, whereby they will disperse tiny particulate matter from aircraft, into the ionosphere, or stratosphere, which will spread slowly out and create what they would call a reflective blanket to bounce the solar rays back away from us so we can keep our goal of not raising the temperature of the planet. Like, this is absolute insanity. At the same time that they're paying farmers to build solar farms, the most ridiculous oxymoronic thing you could. Okay, guys, wait a second. You're actively blocking the sun whilst actively subsidizing solar farms. Like, this is the level of insanity that governments are doing right now. And it's all just follow the money again. Just follow the money. And I picked up this book. It's called Chemtrails Exposed, A New Manhattan Project. And that really piqued, like, the subtitle really piqued my interest. And it's written by Peter Kirby. I've had him on the podcast. So if anybody, it's a big book. So
can you show us the book?
Yep. Here we go. This is the book.
Yeah, that's a big book.
And here's the thing about this book. After each chapter, there is probably 4 to 5 pages of citations, references, receipts. It's the most incredibly researched book I've ever read. It's nuts. And patents to all of this stuff, absolutely everything. He was meticulous. It's taken him 10 years of research to get this. And all of the research was publicly available. All of it. It's not like he's, just making this shit up. I'll give you the episode number so people can go and find it. But he's just been on Tucker Carlson as well. So if people want to go and listen to that, Peter A. Kirby, you'll find it on Tucker's website. So what he's found, that all of this weather warfare basically was discovered during the Manhattan Project. So that's when they had all of the Nazi scientists rescued from Germany, repatriated over to the US. Any scientist they could get their hands on, and put in Los Alamos. You might have seen the film Oppenheimer, where they talk.
Brilliant film.
Yeah. So do you think that's all they discovered? Like, all of those hundreds of scientists, that brain fest, that hive mind, they only discovered that one thing, how to blow up as many people as possible in one drop? Or do you think that they were bumping into other discoveries along the way? And I've done a Stolen Science series on the podcast, which people can go and listen to.
Stolen Science,
yeah. And some people even go so far as theorizing that 0-point energy was discovered here, using the work of Tesla, which was under the control of. Do you know this? Donald Trump's grandfather was head of one of the 3-letter agencies back in the day, and it was him that ordered the goons in to ransack Tesla's laboratories, take all of that information for national security, because Tesla was Hungarian, I think, by birth, and that meant, like, his offspring or siblings or whatever, I can't remember, it couldn't fall into their hands because they weren't naturalized American citizens. So that was the reason to go in, ransack the place, and take all the shit. So they have all of that information. They did the same to a guy called Wilhelm Reich. He was Austrian, and he was doing a lot of very interesting work around what he called orgone energy, which he discovered and theorized that the ether around us is a source of orgone energy and a source of energy that we could extract and use to power ourselves without the use of cables and coal-fired electrical grids and all of this kind of stuff. Well, who would have interest in shutting down that research? He also created something called the orgone accumulator, which was basically, just think of like a freestanding wardrobe, but the wardrobe would be made of inorganic and organic materials tightly packed against each other, concertinaed. And that would draw in pure, what he would call positive orgone energy from the ether and into the body of the people that would sit inside like this little wardrobe type thing. He was curing cancer, man, back in the 50s, smashed to pieces, put in prison, died the day before his release. I mean, it's a story as old as time, and all of his research stolen. So, like, there's so much of this going on. So when Peter followed the money all the way back to the New Manhattan Project, and that's why he calls it the New Manhattan Project, Chemtrails Exposed, he found all of the patents and everything that they were doing, not just with spraying chemicals into the sky, but also perturbing the ionosphere and using, you might have heard of the HARP facility that was built in Alaska, using these antennae to heat and pulse the ionosphere in order to, redirect the jet stream or, just fuck with the weather. Because if you can fuck with the weather, and that is a new weapon of warfare, you can create floods, you can create droughts, you can create earthquakes in territories that you might want to conquer. You're like, wow, man, like this is unbelievable stuff, and military grade stuff that, again, he's followed the money and found all the patents and whatever else. So what he theorizes, and I think he's probably 100% correct, is what we are seeing is a substance called coal fly ash, and it's a waste product that's found in chimney stacks of coal-fired industrial plants, wherever there's huge smelting going on. The byproduct gets caught in the chimneys because there's something that catches it so it doesn't go into the air. But now you've got a product that you need to, what's the best way to get rid of something? Make a market for it. So it was going into cement. It was going into roads and things like that. It could get mixed in, and that was the way that they create. And this is a market of billions of dollars, by the way, the coal fly ash market. Just go and look it up and look at its use cases. There's projections for it in the future, and it's traded, right? It's a commodity.
Crazy.
And he believes they've found a way to basically dump that into the skies rather than the rivers and the oceans, using the skies as a dumping ground, and then come up with this idea of, let's hide behind the narrative of climate change and come up with this solar radiation modification. And that's the card they can play once we've reached a critical awareness. And I think we've reached that critical awareness because it's not just you and I that ask questions about it now. We do still get shouted down. But if I tweet about it now, like I think I started tweeting about it 2 years ago, and it was met with a lot of derision. Other people have picked up on it now. Ben Wehrman, Efrat Fenixson, actually, she was ahead of me. She wrote a blog post about this a long time ago. So yeah, we're not the only crazies out there. And again, it's just like, be vigilant, be aware, like, what's being dumped in our skies. Don't just believe that it's, as Peter says, like ice crystals and water vapor. That's not how that behaves. Like the way water vapor and ice crystals behave would be to dissipate, like we see.
Absolutely.
Like you mentioned. If something just hangs in the air and slowly spreads over 8 hours, to create like this thin, milky, thin, hazy blanket of crap, that's how particulate matter would interact with its atmosphere. So what you're looking at is particulate matter. So when he figured that out, he wanted to know what the particulate matter was, and then he found himself down there, the coal fly ash rabbit hole. Because there are other scientists that they've written papers. He's got it all in here. They've written papers And like the title of the paper will be The Effectiveness of Coal Fly Ash in Solar Radiation Modification.
Pretty obvious.
It's all there. So yeah,
Well,
I don't look. How do we stop it? Awareness. That's the only way this stops.
yeah.
We need the critical mass. We need the people to wake up and join us crazies. I think, did I see Robin Sayer, I think, tweeted the other day, like, you are sane going in an insane world, not the other way around. And that is what Bitcoin does.
100% it is. Daniel, is there anything, like, we could talk for hours, but I'm conscious of the time. Is there anything like top of mind that I didn't bring up that you'd like to impart?
I will. I've just found the episode number 569. If people are interested to learn
episode
about
569.
Yeah, exactly. There is one thing I want to shill for a few guys down under. I had one of the guys from Consensus 21 on the show recently, and this is a physical school that is being built in Melbourne with forefront of mind Bitcoin principled ethics, and it's going to be an unschooling type education. It's going to be student led. What they want to do is completely upturn the current model. And you've got teachers behind this, like, you know, teachers in the real sense of the word, mentors behind this, that they've managed to free themselves from that system and the fiat education system. And they want to build an education system on a Bitcoin standard with Bitcoin principles and really educate kids. And it's completely open source. So I hope that it's all on GitHub, their plans. I hope this gets replicated around the world, because if two greatest tools at the disposal of those people that want to control you are, one, the money, and two, the education system. Because if you give me a child until the age of 7 and I'll show you the man, right? They take children earlier and earlier and earlier, and they're taking children. Like I'm not, this isn't hyperbolic. Like the state need your children. And Gabor Mate has written about this in his book, Hold On to Your Kids. We've seen with Bitcoin as well, how Bitcoin affects your mind towards parenting and self-sovereignty and modern day birthing practices. Like more and more Bitcoiners, shout out to Jake, one of my Pommy brothers living down under, has done some good work on his show talking about home birth, and all of this stuff we just need the reset. And it's projects like Consensus 21 that's going on down there that's going to be doing great work. Other than that, go listen to the podcast. If you're in the UK, reach out. We've got to keep building over here. We've got Bitfest coming up in Manchester. That's turned into what was going to be, I think, like let's get together and do a meetup, has turned into like this incredible conference that just goes to show you the power of grassroots. Support value for value efforts. Get off Spotify, get off Apple. If you're a Bitcoin podcast listener, do it on Fountain or another value for value enabled thing, because like Brian's book Parallel is perfect example. If not you, then who? If we're not great, if we're not supporting the builders of Bitcoin products and services, no one else is. Like it's up to us. If we want the parallel system to flourish, it has to be us to support it. We can't be listening to podcasts on Apple anymore. Like, you know, line in the sand. It's over. What are you doing? Get on to Fountain. Load your wallet up with 1,000 sats. Stream some sats. Boost some sats. Get these sats moving and flowing. Support Geyser Fund, where get over to Geyser and just start supporting with $5 to $10 different objectives and projects that people are trying to put together. A lot of these things aren't just, I want to sell some t-shirts so I can make more money, bro. Like, no, there's schools being built, and there are incredible projects going on around the world that need our support. And that's what I'm, really passionate about. Artists need our help, whether that's, just retweeting their work or buying their stickers or whatever it is. They're trying to get their message out in their way. The musicians need our help. Go and listen to musicians on Wavlake or Fountain and stream sats directly to them. There's going to be the new music economy gig is going to be going on in Manchester. where all tickets are paid in sats and all sats go to the artists.
Nice.
This is great. Anything Bitcoin touches turns on its head, and we just need to keep doing that. And I hope that incentivizes a few people, and we can just keep moving forward and stay vigilant.
What a way to be able to wrap it up. I'm going to follow up with you in regards to Consensus 21, but ladies and gentlemen, so much of what Daniel's said in regards to the stolen science episode 569 on the Once Bitten podcast, that was with Peter there. I'll put all those links below, as well as to be able to connect with Daniel on X and Noster. Where else can people find you? Are they the best places? Obviously, Fountain, YouTube, X, Noster.
Yeah, exactly. And if anybody's
Club Orange.
if anybody's in Club Orange, yes, I should shill Club Orange, which was Orange Pill app. Club Orange is a great place to find your local Bitcoiners. So if you're the lonely Bitcoiner, stop being the lonely Bitcoiner. Download Club Orange. Find out if there's a guy or a girl within 5 to 25 miles of you. Set up a meeting, go to the pub, get a coffee, grab a meal, whatever it is. Just start connecting in real life. Get to an event, get to a conference, get to your local meetup. If not, start your local meetup. This is, the time is now, and Club Orange is the best place to go and lean into that. There's almost 20,000 Bitcoiners around the world now. I use it whenever we're traveling to connect with people. It's great.
I've used it when I'm traveling as well. Amazing, especially in the States. Is incredible. Just any Bitcoiners about, let's go, let's connect.
Yeah, it's incredible. And if anybody's interested in checking out my book, that's called Choose Life, and that is the story of how my wife Claire and I took our 4 kids out of school and traveled the world. We traveled the world 2.5 years with the kids aged 8, 6, and 2 3-year-old twins when we began the journey.
Wow.
We swapped our way around the world, and it's all in there. How we did it, the tools and tricks, and the effect it had on us as a family. My thoughts getting changed about education and sharing economy and finding circular economies and then finding Bitcoin. But it's not a Bitcoin book. It was all part of the journey. But that can be found on bitcoinbook.shop, and you can buy it with sats. And they also host many other authors on there. So, go support bitcoinbook.shop. If you're buying books, Bitcoin books in particular, get over there, get off Amazon and go and support bitcoinbook.shop.
I'm writing that down because I love books. It's incredible. I didn't actually know that you'd written Choose Life. Otherwise, I would have read it before. But I know you did have a part to play with Parallel with Brian Dement and Knut. And there as well. This is an amazing book. This is just incredible. I think if someone read the big print, they followed it up by Parallel straight away. They are 100% orange pilled. I would be flabbergasted if someone wasn't like, oh, I get it, I understand, and keeps going down the rabbit hole.
Were you in Madeira when you got that copy?
No, Brian sent it to me.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, sent that to me, and I've got Bitcoin Evangelism on the desk as well.
Yeah, that's a great book.
Really amazing. Bitcoin Evangelism, it's the first book to read in your Bitcoin series, and then follow up by Parallel. It's just sort of the 1-2 punch. I don't know if you know this, but on page 157, it says, read the books or eat the bugs. Sean Clark. That's why he sent it to me.
Read the books or eat the bugs.
Yeah.
Love it.
Because the West's coming out with bug slop for everyone that doesn't have Bitcoin and self-custody.
Exactly. A nice little story. That book would have been signed in Madeira, where Knut and Brian and myself were kind of like around this back in this holding area. There was shit everywhere and boxes getting ripped open. Brian had, I don't know how many of those books. And we just sat there and signed like hundreds of them all together, just chatting, chewing the shit, blah, blah, blah. So Brian must have had a copy left over. They're the only ones that will have all 3 signatures.
Well, this has only got you and Knut on the front, I think, without Brian's signature.
Inside, I guess.
Maybe he didn't. I'll talk to him on Thursday when I'm talking to him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he did. He did sign it on the inside.
There you go. So, yeah.
Well, I found something a couple of years later. That's incredible. He's such an amazing man, Brian. I can't wait to catch up with him again. Quick question before I stop recording. Will you be at Bitcoin Prague next year?
Yes.
Cool. I'll be there as well. I cannot wait.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well done for making that trip, mate. That's a huge one.
Tony from the Bitcoin Way, he'll be there. He's like my favorite person aside from my wife in the whole wide world. The mission that he's on. Robin Sayer, like I've partnered with Microseed as well officially. So Daniel will be there as well from Microseed. And from everything that I've heard about the conference, it's just pure signal. It's like the Bitcoin conferences used to be. So I'm just super excited. But yeah, it's a huge journey to go there. And I say to my wife, "Are you coming?" She's like, "How long are you going for?" I'm like, a week, 10 days. She's like, "I'm not going there unless we go for 6 weeks." I'm like, "Let's go for 6 weeks." She's like, "Oh, we'll see." I'm like, "Fuck, I'm just going. Like, I'll be back in a week and a half. I'm going."
Well, it'll be great to meet you. And yeah, you won't
can't wait.
It's a great event.
I appreciate it. For everyone, if you haven't already, hit subscribe if we vibe. But most importantly, do something nice for yourself today than for somebody else out there. All Daniel's links are below. Be blessed. Peace.